Good evening, friends, and thanks for joining us live here from Melbourne for Sunday Night Live. Good evening, Brendan. How are you?
Father, I'm really good. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. It's good to see you at the end of another
I,
week. Or the start of another week, I
how's
suppose. Depends how you want to look at
that's,
it, really.
that's right. No, it's very much the start of the week. But how has your week, the past week, been?
It's been uneventful, Brendan, like any other
Oh,
normal week in
really?
lockdown. I, I,
Completely uneventful. I feel like there was a rather significant event that occurred during the week.
I, I was waiting for it. I was waiting, and I'm just holding my breath to see if there's something gonna.
Happy
Yeah, here we go.
birthday to you. Happy birthday, Father Pierce. Hip hip, hooray! Hip hip, hooray! Hip hip. Oh, there's donuts.
Hooray!
Hooray! Blow them out, Father. Go on. Go on. Oh, wow. Happy birthday. There's two chocolate donuts right there for
Oh
you. And I've
wow!
got decorations. Let me just set that up.
You've re- you've
Oh, look
you've
at
really
that.
you've really gone out all out here, Brendan, for people who
I
are
have,
maybe
I have,
listening and have got no idea what's going on. If they're listening
I
later in
put
the
some
week.
LED lights on. There was donuts, there were decorations, there were candles.
I,
It was a
I,
great
I
event.
just wonder whether you've blown the budget for this week's episode already, if you know what I mean, on two donuts and some candles.
Do you like this little decoration here? I thought that was pretty cute.
That's great. That's great, Brendan. Thank you very much.
That's
Yes, it was
so.
my
Happy birthday, Father.
thank you. It was my birthday during the week. Uh, Normally
You,
comes and
I know
goes.
what it's like to have. I know what it's like to have a birthday in ISO in lockdown.
This
How
is
was it?
this is our second birthday on the podcast, isn't it? Did you celebrate your
I think
birthday?
so.
Yeah, I got you a cake as well. I think
I
didn't I?
did in May.
Mate,
Can you?
that
I'm sorry. Can you believe that? Can you believe that we've done 27 of these?
it's yeah, it's pretty.
We're
It's quite
about to
scary
clock
though.
out like another year.
Yeah, but it's quite scary though sometimes when you realise how long we've been in isolation or in some form of quarantine, because sometimes like it has become like the new normal in many ways, and it's just what we're sort of used to now. But it's just like, yeah, 27. Hey, that's more than years that you've been alive.
Wait, you're 27? I
No,
didn't know you were only 27. Father,
27.
you're doing really well. You're
But
the youngest priest
of
in
course,
Melbourne.
birthdays are not the only thing I suppose that have been happening in lockdown. People have got through weddings. If you know what I mean, there was a couple of weddings of Catholics over the weekend that people had to watch in via live stream. Lots of celebrations that people are missing out on or celebrating in a more subdued fashion during lockdown. So, anything happened in your week? Anything exciting?
Anything exciting? Um, I listened to a good podcast. You know the Jace Nevitt started doing a podcast. Have you seen?
Okay, no, but I would be
He
very
started doing
interested.
one. It's we should give him some tips. It's as professionals that we are, I'm just kidding. It's actually his is really good. Moving, it's funny though. Do you know what's funny about his podcast? Is that I don't know if you would have heard multiple Jason Everett talks in your lifetime,
Yeah.
and you know how in his talks, yeah, he kind of always uses the same content like all the time.
Well,
So you hear the
he's
same stories, like
he's talking on chastity, like sort of chastity doesn't change very much, sort of from week to week.
fair enough. He doesn't need to change it up, but with the podcast, he has to. Like he's actually
Yeah,
putting out new content. So
like
and it's really good. Like I'm really enjoying it. It's a good one.
so. If we're gonna do Brendan's top five tips to someone doing a podcast, what would the top one of those be? Maybe that could be
That's a
next week's top
I
five.
I'm writing that down right now. I'm not going to forget that
Because I
one.
think the first thing is sort of be a bit better at your top five.
Do you know what?
Because your top fives are getting just.
No,
I don't want to segue so quickly into Brendan's top five this week, but your top five is getting a little bit sort of
sorry.
lame.
Wow.
I think next
Wow.
week it should be Padre's top
Can I
five.
just can I be honest? There are only so many lists of things in this world. Like I spend I'm just going through the whole week going like, I got nothing. I got nothing. So people, come on, give me some
No, so
suggestions
top.
because you know what I mean. Like top five movies, top five books, top five podcasts. Like what else is there to top five of
So
anything?
the second piece of advice we give to Jason Everett is don't start your podcast by telling your listeners, your faithful listeners who have tuned in on a Sunday night, that you spend the whole week going, I can't think of anything to talk about.
Yeah, no, don't worry. I got
Maybe not
plenty. I
the-
got plenty to say.
Maybe
There's
not
plenty
the
of good content for you guys to listen
best
to.
thing.
Or hey, so I've been thinking I could change up the segment. I'm curious what people think. Are people done with Brennan's top five?
No.
Let me know in the comments.
Well,
Nah.
we
And if
can't
anyone's
be
got
done
another segment,
because it still doesn't have a theme. It hasn't been done enough to have a theme. So, there we go. Jerry's
okay, but hold on. Do we have a graphic?
No,
Do we have a graphic this week?
We lost the graphic. Sorry. Here we go. Father John, thank you very much. Top 5 TV binge options. Things to watch. Netflix series,
Okay.
I think is great. Jerry is saying top 5 memories of Father Nick and Brendo. That's great. I think.
Top 5 binge
Trident
options. I'm writing this down. This is good stuff, guys.
We're really glad that you're with us, Trident, because again, you're suggesting there's still Brendan's worst top 5 ideas, sort of, which I think could be a really great sort of segment. Or worst top 5
I feel like you need to do that, Father, not me.
I still think that your best worst top 5 moment was when you had to leave the podcast because you'd left the notes in the kitchen or something like that. So
yeah, that's right.
Just left us there hanging, but that's okay.
That's okay.
So I think Brendan, without any further ado, we've
without any graphics, without any music.
fanfare.
It's just we're gonna bluntly switch over now to
Brendan's top 5.
That'll be on my list of top 5 podcast suggestions. One will be have good segues.
Yeah, make sure you've got the graphics. The real sort of successful podcasters, they have ads halfway through. We've been looking for sponsors for 27 weeks now, and we haven't got any. Nobody wants. We should just start
free. We should just start doing free sponsorships.
Free sponsorship. We'll just make them up, like tonight's.
Yeah, we'll just make them up. Yeah, that's it.
Krispy Kreme donuts. That's where they Krispy
Let's
Kreme.
be real. Brendan's top 5 is really just sponsorships in disguise.
Exactly.
Because everyone.
Okay, let's go. Your top 5 this week. Speaking of
receive any money for my top 5.
Speaking of sponsorship in disguise, your top 5 this week is
top 5 I can't even speak. Top 5 wait, what am I saying? Top 5 breakfast foods.
Yeah, so now
is that right?
Now the Combox decides to go, that's why he thought that we'd hit an all new low.
Yeah. Now hold on, this is quite exciting.
After a week of planning, you got to Sunday morning having breakfast and went, oh well, this is as good a topic as any. No. Well, anyway, do you want to hear him? Go for it. Number 5. 5 to 1 if you're listening for the first time this evening. 5 to 1.
Guys, hold on to your seats. This is going to get really exciting.
Come in any sort of order. So, John Floro suggested Carter's blueberry and mango smoothie would be on his list of top 5.
Oh,
People actually think this is a good list. Okay.
Thank you.
Number 5.
All right. Number 5 is Vegemite on toast.
Yeah. Okay.
A classic. Put it in the toaster. Come out the toaster. Okay. Question, Father.
Yeah.
Do you like Vegemite, firstly?
Do you know what? I go through moments where I have cravings for it. Like, so I don't eat it regularly.
Okay, cool.
Every now and then I'm just like, devour half a loaf of white bread with Vegemite. It's just like...
Okay, good. Wait, hold on. Yeah, because when you said you had cravings for Vegemite, I had a slight concern for a moment that you were the sort of maniac that would get a spoon.
No. But if you're going to have it, you spread it on thick. Like, none of this sort of light scraping.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I normally have it when I'm sick. It's really good. That salty sort of bitey. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, gotcha.
Number 4.
Okay. Wait, hold on. Do you put butter with it? Just quick side note.
Yeah. You have to.
Yeah, cool. That's normal, yeah? Like you put butter and then you put the Vegemite on top.
Yeah. It'd be pretty weird to put the Vegemite and the butter on top.
Yeah, that would be. I've never tried that. Okay. Number 4 is Macca's hotcakes.
Never
Yeah?
had them. Never had them.
Really? Have you ever
Why?
had McDonald's before?
You know that pancakes are like the easiest thing to make.
No. I didn't say. Did I say Did I say pancakes? I didn't say pancakes. I said hotcakes. Macca's hotcakes. I was told off about that.
What's a hot
You know,
cake?
it's not pancakes. It's a hotcake. Apparently, there's a difference. I wouldn't have a clue what that is. Probably because they don't cook it in a pan. Or
Ah,
maybe they called it hot cake. Maybe they called it hot cake so that they could then put the what's the copyright on it.
yeah, maybe.
They could trademark it. You couldn't steal it. Anyway, so
Jared-
that's you get the
Jared-
maple syrup.
Never had them. Never had them.
You'll have to try them.
Do you know how easy it is to make pancakes? Cup of flour, 1 egg,
Tell me.
tablespoon of sugar, bang, some milk. You're done, man. Squeeze
That's
the lemon
it.
juice, let it
You don't have
sit.
to even cook it.
No, in a pan, on the stove. That's how you
Oh.
cook it. That's why they call it pancake.
Right. Wow.
Simple. There's the challenge. We're going to do a cooking
Yeah.
segment next week. Okay, number 3. So we've got Vegemite on
I'm not good.
toast,
I'm not
hot
like
cakes.
Macca's hotcakes. Right.
Brendan's number 3 breakfast cereal food toast thing.
No, bacon breakfast foods. Come on, bacon and eggs.
Yeah, okay. I think you
Yeah.
get a bit of agreement there. Bacon and eggs.
Yeah, that's normal. If anyone lacked that on their list, I'd be concerned. You'd have to be vegan to do that.
If you
Bacon and eggs, a classic combo.
How do you have your eggs?
Bit how do yeah. I like in any way. I make some decent scrambled eggs.
Yeah. Masterclass.
You can poach eggs. Yeah, top 5 ways to cook an egg. You can poach eggs in a microwave.
I take it. I take it all back. We haven't hit the bottom of the top 5 yet.
No, I've genuinely got no. Hold on. I do have a top 5 that I know that once I do this particular top 5, it's the last top 5. We're done after that. Like there's no more after. It's like the absolute bottom of the barrel, last minute. Like if I've got nothing else, the gas is empty. We hit this top 5 and then it's over.
Can you seal it in an envelope and send it to me just so that when it's time, I can open it and go, okay, the podcast is done. Okay, number 2. Here we go. Come on.
Okay, number 2. I feel like a really boring person. It's Wheat Bix and hot milk.
Oh. No. Please.
Yeah? No?
No.
Wait, hold on. No.
Hot milk.
What do you mean? Hot milk. Have you tried it?
Oh. No, thanks.
Don't knock it until you try it. No. Because
milk
it
in
works.
a
No.
microwave, You should not put milk in a microwave. It's just like,
Why? Why?
it's vomit inducing. No thanks.
Why? No, I think
Gets
you got that wrong.
Skin on
Okay,
the top if you cook
you can-
it too long. That smell of sort of cooked milk. No, ooh. No thanks.
Oh, hold on. Ooh, no. Well, if that doesn't suit your fancy, then get the stove top, heat it up real nice, keep stirring so it doesn't get that thick layer on top,
Yeah.
and then you
Too
got
much
some
time
hot
on
milk
your
for your
hands
Wheat
at
Bix.
lockdown, I think. Wheat Bix and hot milk for your grandmas out there. And your number 1. Your number 1, Brendan. Come on.
Number 1. I wish I had it with me. I would drink one right now. It's an up and go.
And off we go. Yeah, okay.
It's brilliant. No. Serious. It's a good breakfast. It's a good breakfast because
I'm
it's
in
there.
complete
It's
agreement.
ready.
I'm in complete agreement.
Huh?
I'm in complete agreement.
Oh, you agree? Oh, good.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm glad. What flavor?
It's got to be chocolate, doesn't it?
Oh, I think so.
Yeah.
But I reckon, they are the protein energized choc hit. That's the pinnacle.
Proudly
Up and
sponsored
goes.
by Up and Go Protein Energized Choc Hit.
I actually buy far too much of that. I buy boxes. I buy like the big 12 pack boxes.
As soon as you suggested this topic, it sort of really it didn't appeal for me because I'm not a breakfast eater. I know it's the most important meal of the day, but I avoid it at all costs. So anything that you can have on the run, I think is high up there for me. So an Up and Go or a protein shake or something like that that you can have on the run. Black coffee. I don't believe you like coffee is surely a breakfast staple. So the ability just to have black coffee, I think, at breakfast time is necessary. Some of you might be aware that I was lucky enough for a period of lockdown to have my sister and her family live with me. They were doing some renovations and they unearthed asbestos, so they had to get out of their house in a hurry.
Oh, they
And
did.
but the one thing, and I was talking to them, they've now gone, but I was talking to them about the fact that I'm not missing is the smell of hot porridge in the morning. I used to come and walk into my kitchen in the morning, and the kids loved porridge, but just that smell of milk, hot milk and porridge, no thank you. So breakfast, not my cup of tea really. But thanks for your top 5. If you are listening tonight and have any suggestions to keep this segment going, maybe to breathe a little bit of life in it to bring it back from the edge of death, please send them through in the comments. Mark says, Brendan, it looks like you have the flame of the Holy Spirit above your head. There we go.
Oh, well, watch out. I might start speaking in tongues if you get me going. I'm just kidding. I won't.
Trident, I see when you're teasing Brendan, I think we're the closest of friends. And then when you say something along the lines, I've managed to have every breakfast in my life without coffee of any kind, I think, well, maybe we're not as close as I thought we were. Wow, life is not worth living without coffee, I don't think. And I think Tom agrees with me there. Brendan, I've got a couple of really exciting things happen this week apart from my birthday. One was that an assistant priest moved here into my parish, which meant that I didn't have to write a homily this weekend. So we normally take some time in this segment to reflect on the gospel. And although I said Mass and I proclaimed the gospel, I didn't actually spend a lot of time reflecting on this week's gospel passage. And I know that you went to Mass elsewhere as well. So we don't have that sort of normal gospel reflection. But I think we're lucky because it's been a week of great feasts, the last week of the church. So we had the Feast of the Archangels, then we had the Feast of the Guardian Angels, and then we had the Feast of Saint Jerome, scripture scholar, so a bit ironic that I'm not speaking about the scriptures this week. And then, of course, the Feast of Saint Therese of Lisieux. So it's been a week of great feasts. So I suppose rather than reflecting on the Gospels, I thought we'd just point out some of those great saints and intercessors that we all have. But in particular, Saint Therese. Do you know much about her or her story?
I do, because I was reading her story and I remember quite firmly and quite vividly being mocked by a certain priest for reading the diary of a 16-year-old girl. It didn't help that the book was pink.
Now,
the particular edition.
Now you're gonna. I don't know which priest you're talking about, but I feel that there's going to be offence caused in the com box by that. Whoever that very uncharitable priest was to Saint Therese. But I would have to agree with him to a certain degree, Brendan, that some of Story of a Soul, especially when I first read it, was a bit sort of hard to read. I couldn't get into it as a young man growing up. But her story, not just the autobiography, but her whole story and her life, is one of great example for all of us, I think. And was one that was really quite pivotal for me in my discernment process, because 20 years ago, her relics were brought out to Australia. And some of you will remember that earlier this year, at the beginning of the pandemic and the outbreak here in Australia, her relics had just arrived in Australia. And they had to shut down the national tour, which was a real shame, because the last time they came out, there was a real movement of grace around the pilgrimage of the relics of Saint Therese. But in particular for me, a very significant moment in my own discernment process. Because there's one thing that she was quite sure of as a young woman, and that was that she knew that God was calling her to religious life and to enter the Carmelite order. So sure that she even took it to the Pope herself and sort of demanded entry into the convent much younger than what young women were generally allowed to enter. So I entrusted my vocation early on in those days. Her relics came to my home parish. I was lucky enough to be asked to carry the reliquary, which was a great honour. But then I spent a night praying before the relics, and I really entrusted to her my vocation, and sort of said to her, well, Saint Therese, you were certain about your vocation, sort of helped me be certain about my vocation. So I often say to my parishioners on her feast day that if they're looking for someone in heaven to blame for me being their parish priest, Saint Therese would probably be a good one for them to blame. So if you're out there, if you happen to be listening and you're looking for someone to blame, that this is all that you've got to listen to on a Sunday night is me and Brendan. While Saint Therese is probably a good one to blame. But she was also a great.
Father, have you done? Have you prayed the novena to her? Did you pray a novena to her and get a rose?
No, but it is quite funny that I walked into my office during the week and there was a carnation sitting on my, not a carnation, a chrysanthemum? No. Some kind of flower was sitting on my desk on her feast day, and I'm like, someone doesn't quite get that it's a rose from Saint Therese at the end of novena. But anyway.
Flower.
Oh, it was a flower. It was close. No, but speaking about flowers, and a thing that you should all really do, if you get a chance, is visit the Carmelite Monastery here in Melbourne in Kew, on or around the feast of Saint Therese, because Saint Therese feast and Saint Teresa of Avila sort of fall within a week of each other. And the chapel there is beautifully decorated with roses, most of which come out of the garden of the monastery, but also that are donated to the sisters. And the Feast of St. Therese and the Feast and Mass, which obviously again this year was cancelled because of COVID, is something that must be seen to experience. And that's in that little lone monastery of the Carmelites here in Melbourne. And if you've never been to their chapel, which is also the shrine to St. Therese here in Australia, it's really it's one of the most beautiful churches in Melbourne and one of the most prayerful and peaceful places to pray. Primrose points out something very important, and that is that both her mother and father were also canonized. So there's a great sanctity in the whole family. I've got one final story about St. Therese, and that was as a seminarian. I went with one of my classmates and we were in Europe and we went to visit Lisieux. And it's sort of been a place that I really wanted to go to because it had been such a incredible part of my discernment process. And we got there this day and we got off the train, and it was a cold winter's night in the middle of January, and I was just a bit tired, like we'd been travelling all day, and I was a bit grumpy, and I was like, got off the train, and I'd heard about Lisieux and this beautiful basilica that was built within the years after her death and things like that. And we got off the train and we're standing on the platform, and it was one of those moments where you just get a bit fed up, and I just sort of said, oh, come on, like, I was expecting some massive basilica sort of looking over the city, sort of shining down on the whole of Lisieux. And as soon as I said it, the train whistle blew and the train pulled away, and it had been blocking the view of this massive basilica that sits on top of the hill. And I'm like, okay, Lord, okay, I'm not going to say anything else. Okay, I get it. I'll be a little bit more patient. So, but anyway, speaking about patience, our guest this evening has patiently been waiting for us to throw to him in the combox, and some of you may know him from his Facebook channel, Jesus Christ Daily. Also the chaplain, the Catholic chaplain at La Trobe University here in Melbourne. Mejia, are you there? Can you hear us?
I can, Father. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. It's so good to have you on. Finally, we've been meaning to have you on for months now, ever since we started. So we're glad for you to be here.
Thank you, Father. It's good to see the top 5 from Brendan. I must agree with you, Father. Nick, number 2. Yeah, nah, I don't think so.
Weet-Bix and hot
milk. Weet-Bix and hot milk.
All right, Mahir. Well, hold on. Well, what's your top breakfast food then?
I don't know if you would know. It's a bunch of lahmacun and some halloumi cheese, some nice Arab banquets.
Yeah,
far out.
I don't know.
So very different.
I was with you till you said halloumi cheese at breakfast time. I think it's probably a little bit.
Oh, you're wrong. No,
Adventurous.
halloumi cheese. That's amazing.
But you gotta try it.
Good.
You gotta toast it, and it comes out really nice.
So, obviously, the halloumi cheese at breakfast means that you weren't born here in Australia. You were born in Iraq and came here when you were 8. you're a Chaldean Catholic. So welcome. You're the first Eastern Catholic who's been on our podcast. We're branching out, if you know what I mean. We've done bishops and cardinals. We've done famous Catholics and non-famous. But you're our first Eastern Catholic. So we look forward to hearing a little bit about you. But can you tell us a little bit about your where you grew up and how you came to be here in Australia?
Yes, I was born in 83 in Iraq. I was born during the war of Iraq and Iran. So didn't really see much good about Iraq. I was born into a war and I left during the war with Iraq and Kuwait. And then shortly after, America came and attacked Iraq. So came here when I was 8. As you can imagine, it was being really hard on us. The language barriers, the cultural barriers. So it wasn't easy since we were the first settlers. So all we saw were Aussies around our neighborhood. And we weren't used to that, seeing all the Arabs and knowing the native language and the culture, stuff like that. So it wasn't as easy. I remember one vivid story when my dad first bought a car. Because we had no one to teach us how to, my dad drive the car. He put it on reverse, and he just kept going backwards, and he didn't know how to put forward. And he thought it was just the first one. So it took a while until we realized you have to put it on D for the car to go forward, and then to park it. So it took a while until we managed to speak to the neighbor in sign languages, for him to understand. But yeah, since then I grew up in Melbourne. I've been in Melbourne all my whole basically entire life. And then just like the average Catholic, I wasn't really a practicing Catholic. I didn't like the church. I didn't like the faith. I think it was boring. Until the 5th of May 2007, I had a dream about Jesus, and then boom, all finished. And then I gave my life to the Lord.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that experience?
Yeah, so at that time, I'm not really proud of saying it, but at that time I had a couple of girlfriends. So then I had a dream about Jesus. It was me and my friend, and it was an amazing dream. We were walking down the shore in the CBD. I think it was around St Kilda, and then I saw a little image in the sky. And I said to my friend, let's go see what that is. It looks amazing. So anyway, so we were running towards it, and the closer we got to it, the more we started to realize what it was. And then we got close to it, and I said to my friend, look, like it's Jesus in the sky. Anyway, so he couldn't see him. So I could see him. Then I could see Jesus' beautiful image. He had his, beautiful face, golden color hair, had a white, nice robe, and then another robe on top of it. He just without blemish, without wrinkle, just a beautiful human being resembling Jesus. And then he started to speak. And I said, Jesus, what are you trying to say to me? I can't hear you. And then he started to speak again. Because I was at the beach, the sound of the waves were too loud. He started to speak again. I couldn't hear him anyway. And then the third time he said it, and I still the same time, and I still repeated, and I said, look, Lord, I can't hear what you're saying. What are you trying to say to me? And then he vanished. And then I woke up, and that was it. That sealed the deal. I broke up with my girlfriends. I bought a box of Bibles. I went and gave one to each one of them, and there were a lot of Bibles, and they all probably thought I was a weirdo for giving them a Bible, but that was my way of saying sorry to them, the way I treated them. And then that kind of sealed my path in my life.
Beautiful. And you're now a husband and father of 2 beautiful daughters.
Yes.
How long have you been married?
I better get this right or my wife will kill me. We're going to 10th year, so a decade, almost a decade.
And obviously, most of our listeners are younger, still single, or maybe dating. So their experience of lockdown and of COVID has been one thing. Can you share with us a little bit, I suppose, about what it's been like being a husband and father, and working from home and having 2 small children at home during lockdown?
Well, as you can see, I don't have a really nice background. I'm in a garage, so that explains a lot about during the lockdown what happens. But it's got its positives and negatives. The positive things is, you've got your kids around you the whole day. You have to try to balance it out. Having kids around you at the same time, trying to do your work during the day. It's not easy, but it's doable. It's got also its negatives. Especially as chaplains, you would know, Father Nick. It's a face-to-face contact. It has that interaction with humans when you talk to them face-to-face. But yeah, it's got its positives and negatives, and we're trying to work our way day by day until the lockdown finish.
If you are listening live tonight, make sure if you've got any questions for King Mejia, as John Florio has called him in the comments, make sure you drop them into the com box. Mejia, as a father of daughters, what's your greatest hope for them for the future? What's your greatest fear for them for the future?
My biggest hope for them is for them to be nuns. My biggest fear is for them to get married. No, not wrong. I'm trying to. My biggest hope for them is to follow the Lord Jesus Christ. I truly do pray. I'm trying my hardest for them to be as be a loving Catholic, being as loving as they can be, practicing their faith. I'm trying to show them the best example. My biggest fear would be growing up in a very un-Catholic, secular society.
Yeah. And meeting someone like you before you met Jesus.
Yeah, I wouldn't want my daughters to meet someone like me before I met Jesus at all.
So we're just talking about the fact that you're chaplain at La Trobe University. What's it been like trying to sort of support students during all of this online learning?
Yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy. I think like at the beginning of the pandemic and all these Zoom things came into place. I mean, I never heard of Zoom, but as soon as it came into place, we were all excited. We all jumped on board, and then we kind of got sick of it. There was too many Zoom sessions from universities, from schools, from friends, from family, from lectures, and I think we just we got too much for them. But I have a great team. As you know, John Florio and the Catholic Club team, they're amazing. They do a lot. They do most of the things. I'm always there behind the scenes supporting them. But yeah, if it wasn't for that team, I wouldn't be able to do much. But we're getting there slowly. So we had trivia games a couple of weeks ago. We gave out some prizes to the winners. So we're going by slowly.
Any advice for students who are sort of heading towards the end of semester, sort of stuck in the last few weeks of online learning?
Yeah, good luck. It's going to be it's pretty tough. It's pretty tough, especially for younger people, because there's time to study and give it all, and then you want to kind of go out and kind of release that all that hard work that you've done, and then come back and kind of take off where you finished off. But yeah, they just have to keep going, and hoping that this finishes, and hopefully they can see the light at the end of the tunnel. And we're always here, we're always here for them whatever they need.
So Mahir, La Trobe Online isn't the only thing that you're doing online. You also run the Jesus Christ Daily page. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I started that group. I think it was around 7-8 years ago, and it was initially for my community. So I started and I added my community members to kind of know what we're doing in the community, in the church, at the youth group. Then it just took off for some reason. I have no idea how it took off, but it just took off, and now it's kind of more for different communities. So I do have a lot of my community members in there, but you've got thousands of people from Melbourne, Sydney, America. You got some people from Iraq, Turkey, Bangladesh. I have no idea who they are from Bangladesh, but there are some people out there who are watching. But yeah, so it kind of grew, and it's really good because it gives me a chance to speak to those who don't really hear much about Catholicism. And the benefit I get from that is I get a lot of private messages from them wanting to learn more of the faith. You'll really be surprised the amount of Catholics that want to learn the faith. As soon as they kind of trust someone and they kind of know that person can deliver the message or deliver the idea, you'll be surprised the amount of people that will message you, wanting to know more of the faith. And I'm blessed to know that a lot of people do kind of look up to our messages on Facebook and want to know more about the faith, which is really good to see because the youth are really vibrant. They really want to learn the faith, and it's beautiful to know that. And that's what encourages me to keep going. It's always them that always encourage me to keep going.
There's a lot of, I suppose, pitfalls about media and social media and the internet. Have you got any advice for people about sort of spreading their faith and being a positive presence on social media?
Yeah, the social media got its negatives too. I mean, sometimes when I do post things, it gets misinterpreted sometimes. And then by the time it gets to me, the whole meaning has changed to what I was trying to say. So yeah, it's a bit dangerous sometimes. You have to really be, precise and not vague. But yeah, the thing is the social media's got so much, things that aren't even accurate. I mean, you see sometimes photos of the Pope, and then you've got quotes apparently they're from the Pope, and then when you look deeper into it, they're actually not from the Pope at all. So there's a lot of deceiving content on the social media. And the good thing is when a youth see it, when they hesitate and they kind of notice something not really good with it, and then that's when they kind of question and ask someone they know. And most of the time, and you look at 80% of the times of the content that's posted on social media that's against anti-Catholicism, it's actually not even accurate. It really isn't. It's just made up, and it's misquoted. And look, you've got so many people out there who want to kind of ruin that. So we just have to be always on our guard to see what kind of content is being posted.
I think a little bit like what you're talking about earlier about, I suppose, chaplaincy at universities, and that you can only ever go so far on Zoom because it's about human-to-human contact. I think it's the same with anything on social media. As a tool for the proclamation of the gospel and getting conversations started, it can be very helpful. But at the end of the day, if we don't break through and actually make it human-to-human, like discipleship happens between individuals, not sort of between a computer and an individual. So I think it's an important tool, but sometimes individuals and people can get stuck in a bit of a cycle of just keeping it all online rather than actually breaking out and saying, well, do you know what? We're never going to come to a point of agreement on this matter unless we actually sit down and have a chat face-to-face about it, which is obviously a bit harder at the moment, but hopefully soon enough we're going to be able to do it. So we've mentioned that you're from the Chaldean church, so we set you a bit of a thankless task this evening because you work for both the Roman Catholic Archdiocese in the chaplaincy at Latrobe, but you're also a youth minister within your Chaldean parish. But building on Brendan's top 5, we wanted to go Mahir's top 5 things that are better in the Chaldean Catholic Church than in the Roman Catholic Church.
Yeah, I was telling my wife. I said, "Look, they want me to have 5 things that Chaldeans are better than the Roman Catholic Church," and she goes, "Are you ready to quit your job?" I can not just yet.
So come on.
I'm trying.
You told us to be brave and concise and clear. So we're sure you can do it.
Okay, this is going to be the top 5, but every top 5 I'm going to compliment the Roman Catholic Church because without them we wouldn't be here. just in case the bishop is listening and watching, so I don't get slaughtered.
Okay.
We'll start with number 5 and go down to number 1.
Yep.
All right. So the least beautiful thing to the most beautiful thing that we have in the Chaldean Church. So the Chaldean Church, as most know, are from Iraq. So we've seen a lot of hardship and a lot of persecution. So Chaldeans have received the gospel by sword, and the church is built by the blood of the martyrs. So when Chaldeans are called to be martyrs, Chaldeans don't get scared of the sword. Chaldeans have given their life for the gospel by the sword and usually see it as an honor to die for the sake of the gospel. One example of the story is when they kidnapped our bishop from Iraq. ISIS kidnapped him, and they put him in a trunk, but because they weren't good kidnappers, they forgot to take his phone off him. So he called all his friends, and he said to them, "Don't give them any money, because any money that you give them, they're going to be killing our brothers and sisters." And he died happily and became a martyr. At the same time, I think if the persecution came in Australia, the Roman Catholics would be the best at giving their life for the Lord Jesus, and they are strong and courageous also.
Look at you, the consummate politician. But I think there's something real about it, because so often when we talk about martyrdom and we read those sections of the scriptures and we look at the lives of the saints here in the comfort of our church in Australia, we speak about white martyrdom and the suffering that we have to go through in our daily lives and the small sacrifices we can make. But it's really important for us to remember that there is places in the world at the moment, including in Iraq, where Christians are actually still giving their lives for the gospel and for their faith. So
and currently now, as we speak, it's happening every day.
Martyrdom, number 5. Okay, number 4.
Number 4, all right. The Chaldean Church has the most amazing, vibrant, and crazy, vibrant, and loud youth groups. So we have a lot of members in our youth groups. We're really good at it. A lot of them come and join and want to join, and they want to work for the church. At the same time, I think if the Roman Catholic Church had only a couple of churches, they'd have big youth groups also. We only have 2, so of course we're going to have bigger youth groups.
Wow, you're really hedging your bets, aren't you? So tell us a little bit, I suppose. So yeah, obviously bigger, more active. Why do you think that is? Is it because everyone comes together to the one place? You've got the sort of the advantage of numbers, strength in numbers?
We've got a couple of advantages. One, we all it's more culturally. When the church is built in one certain area, everyone kind of buys the houses, buys these properties around that church. So everyone's kind of close. Two, it's a cultural thing, especially in Iraq. If you were a Christian, you would stick with your faith no matter what happens. So it gives you that advantage of, I am a Christian and I should be proud of it. And two, if you don't go, your parents are going to slap you. And, so your parents would want you to go to church instead of going to somewhere else. But, and I think the advantage is the language also. So we all understand each other culturally also. So the parents are very comfortable having their children with us because they know there's a lot of certain things that we do teach that others don't teach, when it comes down to culture also and traditions, the way we do follow our faith.
Okay, so the average youth group night in a Roman Catholic church would probably involve pizza and maybe some games and maybe some skits or and maybe a talk. What does it look like in a Chaldean? What's the Chaldean youth group look like?
Yeah, no, we don't usually have pizza. We have it once in a while, but we don't treat them as much. But we usually have serious talks, mostly social talks. Once in a while we do go out, take them out. But we have quizzes, we have social talks, we have religious talks, Bible studies. We used to meet 3 times a week, and then we dropped down to 2. And now, because of the pandemic, we dropped down to 0. So, but we average around, before the pandemic, around 60, 70 youth. And we have 4 youth groups. So in our churches. So, so sometimes we have around 300, 400, depending on what ideas we have. One time we had a competition, soccer competition, dodgeball, sorry. Yeah, we had around 200 people rocking up. So.
Okay, so we've got martyrdom, better youth groups. Number 3, what's number 3?
All right, number 3 is, I'm not too sure whether the Roman Catholics will understand this, and I'm not going to compliment them because this is only for the Chaldeans. Chaldeans have a tradition to greet others with 4 kisses on their cheeks. So when you go to a party and there are around 20 people or 30 people, you're going to have to kiss them all one by one 4 times on the cheek. Now it becomes awkward when you're about to give someone the 4th kiss, but the person thinks you're finished with the 3rd, and then you're left there standing with your lips there sticking out, and there's no kisses. So Aussies don't do that. So we greet each other with kisses.
I really want to understand what do you mean? Hold on. So wait, you're going for the 4th, but the other person thinks that you've already finished.
The Italian 3, but you go in for a 4th.
We try to go for 4 times.
And you're left hanging.
You're left hanging. It's pretty embarrassing. The other person turned around and you're still left there, with your lips sticking out. So, but it gets worse when you're at a party and everyone is, everyone's just dancing, they're sweating, and you have to kiss them all. So it gets pretty nasty.
So martyrdom, better youth groups, more kissing. Number 2.
All right, number 2, we have a fasting called Ba'utha. So Chaldeans take fasting as
Say that again for me.
There's a fasting we have. Only the Chaldeans and Assyrians and the Syriacs, so the Eastern rites, follow these fastings called Ba'utha. So Ba'utha is from the prophet Jonah when he was in the belly of the fish and when God told the Assyrians to fast for 3 days. So with this fasting, nothing goes in your mouth for 3 days exactly. So no water, no solids, nothing goes in your mouth for 3 days. I tried that once. It was my 2nd day, so my 1st day was good. 2nd day was good. On the 3rd day, I couldn't get out of bed. I screamed for my mom to bring me some water and bring me some food. But a lot of us, a lot of the older crowd, go 3 days without eating or drinking anything.
And when do you do it?
It happens to the 2nd week before Lent.
Wow. Okay.
So because
wait, it's not even during Lent. You can't even include it in your Lenten practices. What?
It's not. No, yeah. So what it is, it's a very popular for the Assyrians, Chaldeans, and the Syriacs because it was the Assyrians that were about to get killed, by God for not following the Lord's way. So basically, the Assyrians fasted 3 days. So everyone fasted, on sackcloth, and of course, in a point exaggerate that even the animals fasted. So we saw it in a way that this is us because these are our people, and we take this pretty seriously. So we go through fasting. We go 3 days in church, and the church gets packed in these 3 days, and all the prayers are about petitions, petitioning God not to harm us, and very old traditional hymns that we sing and praise the petitions in church. But at the same time, the Roman Catholics also have amazing fasts. They have one thing that we don't have, and that is Ash Wednesday. That's actually pretty interesting. When we came to Australia, that was our first time witnessing Ash Wednesday. We never heard of it. But slowly, the younger generation have started to take that on board, and our church said, it's a good thing. If you want to be a part of it, why not? But yeah, we never had that in our liturgy or our church.
And it's quite funny because it's not a holy day of obligation in Australia, but quite regularly it's one of our busiest days of the year. So that for some reason here it has grown into a really important sort of, I suppose, cultural practice for Catholics to go to Mass on Ash Wednesday, even though it's not one of the days in which we're obliged to go. Okay, so we've got more martyrdom, we've got better youth groups, we've got more kissing, we've got sort of stricter fasting. So now it's your number one. This is the number one reason why the Chaldeans are better than the Romans.
We can proudly say, and it's something that we're so confident with, the Chaldeans have the language of Jesus, which no one, not the Roman Catholics do. And it's amazing because we have the language of Jesus in Aramaic. We celebrate our Mass in Aramaic. We speak that in our homes. We try to teach it to our kids. So we're still having the Aramaic language in our blood, which is great to know.
Could you do me a favour? Because I've heard this done once before, and we didn't talk about this beforehand. Could you pray for us the Our Father in Aramaic? Because we know that this is the prayer that Jesus himself taught us to pray. And when he taught them, he would have taught them in Aramaic.
Yes.
Can you pray it for us?
Yeah, of course. When you want it now or later?
We'll do it at the end.
Yep, sure, no worries. I can do
lead
that.
us in a prayer at the end.
Sure.
Okay, so you've got the language of Jesus. Well, it's hard to top that.
No, you can't top that. And that's one thing, that's it. We're proud of that, and no one else can take that away from us.
What does that mean for your young people, if you know what I mean? I suppose one of the things about the Romans is that the Latin language we've sort of given up for most people. Most young Catholics grow up without any sort of real sense of, I suppose, the ancient language, which was an important part. But the fact that the Chaldeans have held on to their language, how does that balance out with young people who might not necessarily be learning it if they're growing up in Australia?
Yeah, it's not easy at all. When I was teaching my daughter, only speaking Aramaic at home, not speaking any English, when we took her to childcare, the only thing she was talking to them about was the Aramaic words and Aramaic sayings, and they had no idea what she was talking about. So when she wanted the water, she would say, "Kaban maye," and I'd be like, what is this girl trying to say to us? I have no idea. So it was really hard, yeah. So then that's when we kind of introduced English, and English is kind of got to find a way of taking all our languages away, because it's an easy way. So the youth are kind of struggling keeping the Aramaic language, and average youth now won't be able to sit and speak a decent conversation in the language.
Yeah. But as a liturgical language, it's still appreciated for the beauty of it when it comes to worship?
Yes, so it's all fully Aramaic in our church. The youth would know the whole Mass in Aramaic. Even those who don't speak Aramaic, they would know the hymns, the prayers, and all the kind of stuff in our language. But yes, it's celebrated in Aramaic. We're trying to help the youth out. We have 3 Masses. We're trying to help them out on the 3rd Mass. So we read the St. Paul's letter, the Gospel, and just a bit of homily here and there, and a couple of prayers in English to kind of, give them a bit of something to go with also when we're in Mass.
Okay, so can you give us then, you've got to give us one thing that you think the Romans have better than the Chaldeans. Ha! Nothing. You can think of nothing.
Well, I must say they've got a louder voice in Australia, that's for sure.
Oh, okay.
They're recognised more. Yes, we're not recognised in Australia at all.
Okay.
So that's one thing.
That's true, actually. I honestly, I didn't know that your youth groups were that big. It's encouraging.
Well, Brendan, you should know. A couple of years ago, the Chaldeans came and versed the Archdiocese in soccer, and we took the trophy back home.
Well, were you never invited back again?
No, we never came back.
I don't think the competition ever happened again. There's a couple of questions in the comments. So one is, could you explain a little bit about the Chotki beads?
To be honest with you, I have no idea what the Chotki bead is. I don't know. I've never heard of that word.
Okay.
I know what they are, but I mean, I don't think it's Chaldean. You know what they are, Father?
Yeah, I know what they are. They're
Do
not
you?
Chaldean, Jerry. So no, he can't explain, Jerry. Thanks for the question. I think they are. They're like rosary beads, but I think they're probably. No, I'm gonna stop before I even guess where they might
I think it's
land.
I don't know if it's Byzantine, but Matt
Yeah.
Fradd talks about it. They're the beads that you pray the Jesus prayer with. It's like a rope, and then you pray, Lord Jesus Christ, Son of the living God, have mercy on me, a sinner, on each of the
Okay.
chotki.
Okay.
And then it's like rosary beads, but chotki beads, and you'd pray that particular prayer on it.
Mejia,
It's really
and
cool.
I'm just going to sort of show my and I lived with the vicar for interfaith and ecumenism relations and sort of cross church conversations and things like that. So he's gonna hate the fact that I'm gonna really mess this up here. But how many rites are there in the Catholic Church altogether? Is it about 27?
22 from what I
22?
think I know.
Okay.
22 or 23, I think.
Yeah. And so we've got the Romans, which are obviously the largest, the Byzantians, which you guys don't fall in. So which you're the
We're from the eastern right, the Chaldean right. So we have our own. So we only have the Chaldeans and the Syriac Malabars, which is the Indians.
so your guys are connected to from the same sort of family as the
Yes.
Malabars.
That's correct.
And
Yes.
they're obviously growing here in Melbourne as well. So
Yeah, sometimes they use our church when they have big gatherings.
okay. So Jerry, we think that the Chotkis come from the Byzantians, so they would be like the Russian Catholics, and the Ukrainians are Byzantine, perhaps. I don't know. So that new topic for the next week, sort of going further into the Eastern rites of the Church. Here we're almost out of time, but we have asked each one of our guests over the last couple of weeks. What I can't say couple of weeks anymore. It's been 27. Over the last 27 weeks, was there something that you've learned about yourself during lockdown, during quarantine, sort of during COVID, that post-lockdown you're going to try and keep sort of carrying in your life, that you're going to take out into your everyday life?
Yeah, I think slow time. Time was very fast. Before the pandemic, it was very fast, very crazy, and it was a bit too fast that I was forgetting myself. So time has kind of slowed down a lot for me. It slowed down a lot, and I'm trying to use time wisely instead of wasting it before the pandemic. Before the pandemic, we were just doing a lot of things, and most of the times it was just wasted stuff. Sometimes I think there wasn't much productive, much fruits coming out of it. But now I'm starting to realize that time is very important. It's very important, and we should use the time in more effect. Well, you never know what you have until you lose it, and we had that freedom to go around, meet people. So I think now it's more efficient that we use that time more wisely. So that's what I've learned.
Beautiful. Thank you very much for joining us tonight and sharing from your own sort of beautiful faith, but also some of the wonderful work that you're doing. So again, if you didn't get it earlier, it's Jesus Christ Daily on Facebook, and you can like that group and catch up with Mahir and some of the great work he's doing. But we want to do we were talking during the week, Mahir, about doing a joint trivia night. So we did the Melbourne Praise Trivia Night earlier on in lockdown. So we've probably got another chance to do that in a couple of weeks before the end of lockdown. So we might throw together one, and we might get the masses of Chaldean youth together with the Roman Catholic youth for a trivia showdown, and sort of maybe settle it once and for all who's the stronger superpower when it comes to the church.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Thank you for being with us tonight, and we'll keep you in our prayers as we continue through this COVID time.
Thank you, Father Nick, and thank you, Brendan, for inviting me to this podcast.
It's been a pleasure. Are you going to pray Our Father for us in Aramaic?
Our Father in Aramaic.
Yeah, sure. شمت بابا برونا وروح قدشة خالها أمين بابا نديلة بشمية تباش من قدشة شمو أثيا ملكوثو هاوي عجبونو دغديلة بشمية هذا خمأرة هلا اللخمة سمقان اليومانا شووق طالن حطاي ديان دين دمخني شوق لن آني دحطاي لي إلن لما بيرتن جورابا إلا مخالص من بيشا سبب ديو خدم ملكوثا حيلو تجبح ثد عالم آمين شو حلاوة والأوراق وروح قرشة من عالم وعدن من عالم آمين وآمين.
Thank you so much. Thanks everyone for being
Thanks,
with us
Mahir.
tonight. Thanks, Brendan. Just a real plug, a reminder that on Tuesday nights at the moment we're working through the Symbolon series in a series called Unlocking the Faith During Lockdown via Zoom. I'm co-hosting that with Silvana and Christian. Each week is independent of the week before. So this week we're going to be looking at the Bible and the scriptures. So all the details can be found on our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Melbourne Praise. And feel free to join in even if it's your first time. Also, don't forget that you can download the podcast on Google Podcasts and Apple Podcasts. Just search Melbourne Praise or Sunday Night Live. Or you can find it on melbournepraise.podbean.com. Brendan, thank you very much for another end of week spectacular.
It's been excellent. Thank you, Father. And one other thing I wanted to share is that there's a petition going around. You would have seen that Father Marcus and a group of other people have put together. I've just shared the link in the Melbourne Praise, but it's to open up our churches. It's almost got 2,000 signatures on there now. So that's if you haven't seen that already and haven't put your signature down on it, I highly recommend that you get on board.
And the other thing that we would be recommending you do, so sign that petition, but also find your local Member of Parliament's email address or postal address and write them a well-worded, polite, and see that we can do it in a safe and controlled manner. So make sure you do that this week as well. Otherwise, we'll be back next Sunday night with all the fun and games and another Brendan's Top 5 and another special guest. So until then, everyone, thanks very much and God bless.